BBC Politics. Don't switch your channel. The topic of our today's program is Labyrinths of Institutions. And I have a surprise for you. We have two special guests in our studio, rather famous persons in the political field, Mr. Maksim and Miss Tanja. And first we welcome Mr. Maksim. He will explain us the main institutions responsible for law making in the EU. And here he comes. Welcome in our studio. We are so glad that you were able to come and share your experience with us, and especially to introduce the main institutions of the EU. So, you're a member of parliament, am I right?
Yes, I'm a partner and a member of the parliament for over 15 years now.
That, ladies and gentlemen, is an impressive number. And so now you have a clear idea of how institutions are running. And could you please shed some light for us in that matter?
Yes, of course. First of all, we have three main institutions, which are the European Commission, European Parliament, and the Council of Ministers. And let's have a closer look on each one of those. First of all, the Commission. The Commission represents the interests of the European Union as a whole. It provides new legislations to the European Parliament and the Council, and also it ensures that the law is being implemented correctly by all the member countries of the European Union. Then there is the European Parliament. The European Parliament is the voice of people. 754 members are directly elected by the citizens of the EU. European Parliament has the power to legislate, which means to pass law. Its main functions, or the powers, as you may say, are the legislative and budgetary power and the power of control over Union's institutions.
Okay, and how about democracy in this context?
Well, the directly elected body helps to guarantee the democratic legitimacy of the European law. And also the Parliament exercises the democratic supervision over all the European Union's institutions, in particular the Commission. This is the so-called third power, the power of control.
Wow. And so now we know more about the Commission and the Parliament. What can you tell us about the Council of Ministers?
As I said earlier about the Parliament being the voice of people, the Council is the voice of the member countries. And the members of this council are the ministers, as the name is saying. What does happen in this council? Each time there is an issue or a matter that needs discussion of a very, let's say, high rank, the ministers of each member country, which is a part of the European Union, is being called for a meeting. They discuss very important matters, pass laws, and make decisions. For a specific matter, the specific minister will be called.
Okay. Could you give us an example?
Yes, of course. Let's take, for example, an environmental issue in the Europe. And for this matter, there will be each minister that is responsible for the environmental issues in each country will be called and taken for a gathering where they will discuss it and make a solution for it. And it will be called the Environmental Council. Usually, and not just usually, always it depends on the subject of the agenda.
This was quite a knowledge boost for all of us, I guess. And thank you very much for the introduction of the institutions. And I am sure it will be helpful to understand the lawmaking process better. And thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Oh, thanks for your lovely presentation. And goodbye, Mr. Maksim.
Goodbye, it was my pleasure.
It was our pleasure too. And ladies and gentlemen, it was an outstanding experience to listen to Mr. Maksim on the institution work process, and hope you were able to digest the information since it was not so easy task. And now we are happy to welcome our next guest, Miss Tatiana. Ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Miss Tatiana. How are you today?
much for the invitation. Glad to be here.
Hands. Just before you came in, we heard about the main institutions, and which has a very informative and lovely presentation. Will you help us understand more about today's topic, please?
Yes, of course, it would be a pleasure for me.
So, sounds complicated, but interesting anyway. Let's listen.
All right. So, first of all, there is the proposal from the Commission, and the first reading starts in the Parliament, where the Parliament adopts a position, and the Commission can admit something if it wants, and then the first reading in the Council starts, and the Council can decide if it's adopting the position of the Parliament, then the Act would be adopted. But if not, then the Council will make an own position, and the second reading starts in the Parliament. So Parliament can adopt the position of the Council, then the Act would be adopted. If not, it admits something from his own position, and also the Commission can again give his opinion to that, and second reading starts in the Council. So when Council agrees with the position, then the Act is adopted, and if not, then it comes to a conciliation committee. And this conciliation committee is discussing and establish a joint text together. And there the decision is made after this committee if the Act is adopted or not. So,
yeah, well, actually it sounds very sophisticated, and hope it's not like this in action, yes? And as I understood that there is a proposal made by the Commission, and that there is a first and second reading from the Parliament on the one hand and by the Council on the other hand. But what exactly happens when they don't agree after the second reading? I'm sure I'm not the only one who needs a bit more explanation about this committee, and how is it called?
it's conciliation committee, and there are representatives from the Parliament and the Council, and also some representatives from the Commission are attending. And they are discussing and establish this joint text. And a copy from this text is sent to the Council and to the Parliament. And then both the institutions have to agree that the Act is adopted. If only one institution, Parliament or Council, don't agree, then the Act is not adopted and the process is finished.
So there are no more 3 readings, right?
Yeah, the 3 readings are really enough. At some point everything should come to an end, and sometimes it even ends after the first or the second reading, so they are enough.
Thank you very much, Tanja. Now we all have much better idea of how laws are being made, and thank you for enlightening us. Our show time is coming to an end, and hope you enjoyed this evening as much as I did. And now it's time to say goodbyes. Goodbye, Mrs. Tanja. Have a good evening.
Thank you. It was a pleasure for me. Thanks for the invitation.
Goodbye, Mrs. Tanja.
Goodbye.
Ladies and gentlemen, with you was Elina Stradniece, and have a good evening. Goodbye.